Welcome Double Block Algebra 1 students to your introductory video with me, Mrs. LeCompte, about Algebra 1 class in room 127. And parents, hello to you as well. Hopefully you're watching, whether you're with or without your child. I do appreciate you taking the time. It's only about 15 minutes of information to help your child be more successful this year in the first of 3 high school credit courses he or she will be taking, and we'll learn more about that forthwith. So without further ado, let's get started with some expectations. This is my classroom matrix of expectations, also known as rules in the classroom. At Spratly, we are responsible, we are respectful, we are safe students and teachers. And in order to be responsible, we're going to follow directions the first time they're given. And we're going to come to class prepared to work, having done our homework ahead of time. We're going to be respectful. That means you're going to raise your hand for permission to speak and work with your classmates in a constructive manner. Working together is a very important skill for you to develop, and in math class we'll do a lot of collaborative work. And I want you to be safe. That means raising your hand for permission to leave your seat. The classes are quite large this year. Therefore, it's really important to me that you raise your hand for permission to leave your seat unless you're doing one of 2 things. You can get up to get tissues, or you can get up to use a pencil sharpener. Those are the only 2 things that you can do without asking first. And I want you to maintain your integrity by doing your own work. Cheating never pays. Even if you think you've gotten away with cheating, it is going to come back and get you. And even if it doesn't, it's just not acceptable to find ways around the rules. In addition to expectations for you, there are expectations for the staff. That means for me. I will enforce the expectations for you equally and fairly for everybody. Differentiation is important, and I will make learning opportunities for everyone. So I will provide you a specific opportunity for you to learn, but the expectation is that everyone will follow the rules and everyone will be treated fairly. What are we going to learn? Well, Algebra 1 is the first of 3 high school credit math courses. You will be covering number sense and computation, manipulating and solving equations and inequalities, graphing and interpreting functions, and applying some intermediate statistics. You'll take Algebra 1 and then Geometry and then Algebra 2. That's the order that we progress in the state of Virginia. Let's talk briefly about high school credit. Grades are awarded by semester, and that means that for example, your semester 1 average is made up of the 2 quarter grades. So semester 1 is quarter 1 and quarter 2, each 40% of the average. And then the exam, which is 20% of that average. And that exam does not have any exemptions. That's taken in January at the end of the first semester. Semester 2, for most of you, is probably going to be quarter 3, quarter 4, 50% and 50%. Notice I said when, not if, but when you pass the SOL test, you are not required to take the exam. If you have an an SOL score of advanced, or you take the exam by choice, then it goes back to the same breakdown as the first semester of 40, 40, and 20. When you earn a passing SOL score and a passing grade in a class, you get a verified credit toward your graduation. You can learn more about the high school credit courses by giving me a call, writing me an email, or asking in the guidance department. What am I going to bring to class every day? Well, this is for your everyday supplies. You're going to have a composition notebook. Yes, I prefer a composition notebook. You're less likely to take the pages out. A 1-inch 3-ring binder in which you will keep your graded work and your handouts. A working pencil. I prefer mechanical because then you don't have to get up to sharpen your pencils. Now listen, 8th graders. I'm talking to you here. I know some of you are new to me, but those of you who are or previous students of mine, I almost said usual suspects. Where is my head today? Those of you who are my previous students, I am not going to be your 24/7 pencil provider this year. Okay? We went through hundreds of pencils last year. Please bring your own pencils to class. And yes, make it a pencil, not a pen. We do need our erasers. Please bring your iPad to school with a full charge at the start of the day. I do not mind spot charging them for students during lunch or charging them for you during your elective class now and again, but I am not going to be prepared to deal with like 6 kids who have a dead iPad by second block. So please bring it to school with a full charge at the start of the day. And finally, we will write on the iPad at least some of the time. And if you prefer a stylus, I would suggest that you get one. I do have a great suggestion for those of you who use Amazon or Amazon Prime specifically. You can email me and I will send you a link for a fabulous stylus made by a company called The Friendly Swede. A good deal and a good quality stylus, but you can always write with your finger. So a stylus is not required. I will also not be providing, styli or styluses in class. I think it's styluses, but moving on. What am I going to do to work for success? How do I make myself successful in class? Well, first of all, trust your teacher. It's my 16th year doing this, 14th in math. Stay on task with the assignments you're given. Stay on task with what you're asked to do and get it done. Take quality notes. Don't phone it in. Don't kind of take your time and write down the least amount of information possible. Get the information on the paper so that you can use it later. Stay on top of your math practice with the IXL and the Khan Academy. You will have to have a grade based on that, so it's important that you do stay on top of it. And work to understand the math conceptually first, and then practice the skills so that you can improve your ability to do math just like everything else you do in your life. You got to practice. You got to understand, and then you got to practice. Let's have a few words about grades here. Parents, this is just as much for you as it is the kids. Students do not earn A's and B's because they are gifted, but because they work hard. You may not assume that you will get an A or a B just because that's what you've always gotten in school. You have to work hard for A's and B's in my class. In a high school credit course, you are being held to the same standard as kids that are 3 and 4 and even 5 years older than you are. So it is very important to me that you understand that you will be held accountable for your actions and you will have to work to earn your grades. I do not hand out A's and B's. Second of all, anyone can learn math. Some of you will need more practice than others. Parents, I have heard many a parent come into my classroom and tell me how bad they are at math. And it's funny because you never hear an adult walk around saying that they're illiterate, but they'll tell you forthwith that they have very little math ability. This is really damaging to your kids. Let's not be negative. Let's not with the negative self-talk about the math. You know, with a flipped classroom or a semi-flipped classroom like your child has, you can learn the math right along with them by watching the videos with them. Feel free to subscribe to the YouTube playlist that this video is on. But understand that I would really appreciate if you could dispense with any negative talk and make sure that you encourage your child to work hard to earn those grades and practice the skills we're learning. Finally, while I do not offer extra credit, I do offer second chances. I take late work, sometimes for partial credit, sometimes for full credit, and it depends entirely on what the work is and what the circumstances were behind the missing aspect of the work. What is a semi-flipped or a blended classroom? Well, flipped classroom is not this, of course, but that's a pretty cool picture. A flipped classroom is one where a child does the instruction, learns the material at home by video, and then comes in to do the practice. Now, with a blended or semi-flipped model, some of the homework will be flipped classroom homework, will be instructional video, and some will be traditional written homework. Videos are going to be assigned 1 to 2 nights a week with written homework on other nights, and still other nights I will ask you to practice your Khan Academy or IXL skills with a minimum of 60 minutes per week, but you will have chunks of time to work on that during school in class. The grading percentages for algebra are, for Hampton City schools, they are supposed to be the same all the way across the city. These are the ones that we were given by the department, the math department. 15% of the grade is classwork and homework. That'll include the warm-ups. That'll include homework that's done for completion, video notes, or written homework. Also group activities, classwork practice, just about anything we do during class time will fit into that category, unless it's called a quiz or a test. Quizzes are 30% of the grade. We will have planned quizzes, and we will also have something called homework quizzes. A homework quiz is essentially a pop quiz, except you get to use your notes. So it's a pop quiz, but it's open note, and they will often happen a day or two after a video is due for me to make sure that you were taking the notes and maintaining those notes in your notebook. Tests are 50% of the grade, and while that seems like a lot, we do have a high-stakes testing environment here in the state of Virginia. They may not like to call it that, but that's what SOLs really are, and we have to pass the SOL to move forward in mathematics courses. So we do need to be able to do well on an assessment, and that's why 50% of the grade is tests. You will be allowed to do test corrections each time we have a test and earn a second grade, always higher than the first one. It turns our summative assessment, where we take the information and we find out what you know, and it turns it into a formative assessment, where you can then take the information, synthesize it, digest it, and show me what you've learned from it by correcting your assignments. There'll be a form for test corrections, and we'll give directions in class once we actually take a test in class. And 5% of the grade in the first and third quarter only. 5% of the grade is the critical skills assessment. The critical skills assessment, that's the new name for the old benchmarks. So although you might think, ooh, this is interesting, what's this critical skills assessment? It's the same thing. It just has a new name tag. In the second and fourth quarters, that 5% is going to get added back into classwork and homework category. So that will make that category 20% in the second and fourth quarter. And I think that's important that that's where we put it, because that is the time that the children are spending in class working. Finally, help sessions is going to be offered Tuesday and Wednesday in the morning from 8 until school starts. Please, please, please always obtain a pass. Your pass can be an email from me, which is absolutely fine. I do not have a problem with that. You can email me anytime. You can even email me at 7 o'clock in the morning for a pass to come on Tuesday at 8 o'clock in the morning. You can use the email as a pass. Just show it to whatever teacher is on duty. You see my email address is the traditional Hampton email, and then my phone number here at the school. If you could, parents, I would like you to go online. I have an online contact form, and I would like you to go ahead and fill that out for me. My website is Mrs. LeCompte, just like that, .weebly.com, and that contact form is clearly labeled on the main page. You'll see a student information form, and then you'll see the parent contact form. So now that you've watched the video, there'll be a question where you can show that you've watched the video by clicking agree. And I do appreciate it. If you have any questions, any concerns, please feel free to contact me by email or by phone at any point. I'm looking forward to the school year, and I know we're going to have a great time learning math together. See you guys in class.